Hello, everyone. Welcome back in the saddle again after almost a year of not really doing live streams. I have my dear friend Elise on with me of Bodhi Life Circles. And today we want to talk about some very exciting things happening in Cleveland to put the community together. But what really is exciting for me is the story leading up to this, because Elise is someone I would call a master manifestor. It's someone that gets an inspiration and they don't wait, they just create. And that is the story that really encapsulates what Bodhi Life has. Bodhi Life is what it is, but the story that gets us there is something everybody could take away with them tonight and incorporate that with whatever you want to do in your life. So Elise, welcome to the Emergence of Being podcast. Surprise, you didn't know it was going to be this official.
I absolutely, Hank, you never cease to amaze me in everything you do.
Well, thank you so much. And, it's really interesting because Elise and I have been kind of like in each other's orbits for years. And it just, when the time is right, things come together and coalesce. And we met for lunch just a couple months ago. And then already, like, she has started this amazing Bodhi Life Circle. And that's if you can't watch the whole live today, please join us on every Friday at Cohatch in Cleveland if you're local. If you're not local, check her website because she's starting these in other places. There's one in Florida. There'll be one in Canada. There's going to be all kinds of these events all over the place. But it's like a networking event that brings people together to learn different things about healing, about metaphysics. Just provides people to get in touch with one another, really building community. And that's what it's all about. So you can check that out on the meetup site if you're local. But we're going to be going through the story today. And like, how did we get here is really what I think everybody could get from that. And then also to talk about the amazing things that you have coming up in the next month.
That's so funny. You kind of took my line. How I start almost every retreat, every experience is, why are you here? How did you get here? Because I don't really advertise other than organically like this, just getting into the communities and bringing people together in different forms. Like you said, from the Bodhi Circle groups in Cleveland, we meet in Ohio City every Friday, 9 to 10:30. And that came about by a group of people just saying, we want connection. We want community. We want to be able to go somewhere every single week where we can meet. I kind of say like-minded very lightly because I want us to have I want us to be all of one mind, knowing that we're all of one mind, but to have different opinions and still be able to have great conversations, even if we, might not see eye to eye on everything. But the whole idea is to bring energy healers like you together, bring people together and share what's happening in our lives.
Yeah, and that's something that for most people watching, that I practice a shamanic tradition called the Paco Kunji tradition of Peru, and we always talk about how we celebrate the differences. That if you look at where you're different and make that a wrongness, you're missing the gold because it's what's different that really can add some value and richness to your life. You don't have to agree with everything, of course, but just being open-minded to hearing it and saying, well, is there a medicine for me in this, even if I have to tweak it a little bit? And that is like what everybody has a medicine for each other. It's just a matter of figuring out how to decipher it through the filters that we've been brought up with, because sometimes we don't receive it the same way the other person is giving it to us, and it's up to us to kind of unpack it.
Yep. Yes, exactly. And just learn from each other. We're all on this journey. We just meet people where they are. No one's better than anyone else, and we just love to come together, share different experiences, different practitioners in the area, podcasts like this, just books, and just we have a theme every month and we kind of stick to that theme and just open everyone's education and awareness to what's available and what tools they can take with them, because the healer is within. Give us the power, reclaim our power, touch that intuition, get that dusted off, and start using it on a day-to-day basis.
That's the thing, tools that you can use, and everybody's going there to share freely. Nobody has an agenda. Like, everybody is putting into the event more than they take out. And at the last event, it was actually kind of the person that was going to present at the last minute wasn't able to attend, and everybody just shared what they knew about grounding. And it was great just to kind of go around and have a conversation with people. And there were some people that when they heard some of the things, they're like, wow, I never thought about that. I think it was what I had shared. I had talked about how trees, it's not just about rooting, it's about being in divine reciprocity with nature, because we're giving them carbon dioxide, they're giving us oxygen, and all these different things. And the person was like, wow, like with wonder, I never thought of it that way. And that's what it's about. You're hearing things through other people's points of view, that if you have an open mind and heart, it's like, oh my gosh, this might just change my life if I apply it.
Yeah, absolutely. Just making these different tools, these different, the spiritual journey, part of our everyday conversation. It's always so interesting to me because I always ask people sometimes in a room of 30 or 40 people, how many of you have had that gut instinct in your life where you're just like, man, I just know that I need to do this. And everyone says, oh yeah, I've done it. And I go, how many times have you acted on it and it was the wrong? You go, man, I shouldn't have acted on my gut. No one. Like, this is common, guys. This is common. Everyone is experiencing this. So it shouldn't be an unusual experience to trust your intuition and move forward. Everyone's doing it, and it's just getting it back, getting it back into awareness and getting it, it's a muscle just like anything else that we need to use and tap into every day.
Right. And let's talk before we get into the story, because I know that with people with having busy lives, sometimes they can't stick around for the entire conversation that we're going to have. So besides the Fridays, the Bodhi Life circles, which are a complimentary circle, guys, like you can come and just show up and receive. There's nothing you have to do or anything. You can just show up. You also have these immersion events that are once a month. And I know you've been doing them in Florida already, and now they're coming, very excited about this. Now they're coming into Cleveland. Why don't you just talk briefly about that? And then we're going to dive back and just kind of unpack like how you got here.
Yeah. So the immersion events came about because so many people were curious about, what's a sound bath look like? What does a real Reiki session look like? What about intuitive nutrition, embodiment, breath work, sacred cacao ceremony? So I thought what I'd love to do is in every location, get a day and a half where we can dive deep into these different modalities, get local teachers from the area to be able to share their gifts with us in a beautiful experience. I do limit it to 24 people. So you aren't exactly having a one-on-one experience, but it's a limited group. The number works beautifully. I always pick a location that is not only beautiful and lovely and serves us well, but has a certain energy and feel about it. And then I usually have anywhere from 3 to 5 teachers. So the one coming up in Huron, September 30th, October 1st, I like to start a Friday afternoon with a keynote speech. We're going to do a nature walk, a sound bath, and an Ayurveda dinner. And then Saturday is an all-day event rolling through, starting with a morning meditation, breakfast. We break into small groups and learn about essential oils, feng shui, mindset, meditation. We're going to do a sacred cacao ceremony and end it all with a little bit of Reiki.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, you've created this in Florida and now here in just about a year's time, because you're like me. I had like 10 years of experience in the corporate world. I was a banker, and you're coming from, if I remember right, the real estate industry. And now you went full-time Shanamana along with me.
I did. I just saw that so many people were curious about these things, but to go and, make a Reiki appointment and find out about a sacred cacao ceremony and a sound bath and all this, it would take you months and a lot of money to do that. Right. So I thought, let's bring everyone together. We can share, again, back to that like-minded. We're all curious about where this journey on life is taking us. Most of us know that we need more tools in our toolbox to deal with stress and anxiety and pain, and that there are so many different modalities to dive into. And I love to promote the local healers as well as bring people to these experiences.
And when you say you find the most beautiful places, here's a picture of where it's going to be at. This is the Culinary, I believe, I forget what it's called. I have to go to the other one. This is the Culinary Vegetable Institute in Cleveland. And it's going to be September 30th and October 1st, like you see here. And you can, if you need more information, you can text the word grounding to Elise. The number's right there on the screen, 440-522-2862. But if you're watching this on the replay and you missed it, you still reach out to her through Instagram or another means, because there's going to be one of these coming up every month. And if you're not local, maybe if you are inspired, you could be someone who advocates to bring a Bodhi Life circle to your area, because there's one in Florida, there's one in Cleveland. I know you went up to Canada a couple weeks ago. So like, if you feel like, oh man, this sounds so good, but I can't do it. Well, what if you don't wait and you create and reach out and see, maybe you could collaborate and bring one to wherever you are.
Yes, or if you're not in the Cleveland area and you're in the Tampa Bay area of Florida, or you just want to go to Tampa Bay because it's a beautiful place to visit, there
especially in the
is,
winter.
yeah, there's a Bodhi immersion experience happening here October 21st, 22nd. So there's always things coming up, always
Yeah.
things.
And if you are in the Cleveland area, she has a meetup now. You can go to meetup.com/Bodhi-life-Cleveland. And I'm saying it out loud because if I put this up on the actual podcast, people are not seeing what we're seeing. So I want to
Okay.
make sure people can find you okay. But all this has unfolded in just about a year. So I've called you a master manifester because I've heard your story of how when you put your mind to something and kind of holds the space for it, how it comes to be. So one thing I wanted to, why don't you share with us a little bit about what brought you from real estate to now full time bringing the world together and healing, and the kind of like the bullet points of how that came to be, and we'll dissect it a little bit as we go through with what of how you did it, what people might be able to take away to help them do that themselves in their world. But I also just wanted to acknowledge we had Mike just tuning in saying, how does it get any better than this? We have Debbie saying hello. We have Mike saying hello again. And we have Anthony who was saying, hey, Hank, hi, Elise.
Right.
Anthony, thank you so much for
Yes.
tuning in, brother. He's one of my
Yes.
fellow. Oh, we also got Mark coming in. He is my one of my comics that always comes onto our live streams, but he says he's been banned from there for life. I miss their veggies. So but he comes on especially with Dr. K. I know you know Dr. K. He always has like this light humor that he can add to any event. But now, without further ado, how did you go from real estate to where you are now?
Oh my goodness.
Big question.
It is, and I'm trying to keep it short and not to bore people to death. But the main thing is when you really decide to be authentic to yourself and live in integrity and brush off that intuition and just say, I'm going to start going for it. I don't need to know exactly where I'm going to end up. All I know is this is the right next step. All of a sudden, your life completely changes. That, and I am a huge advocate, almost stern advocate of a morning meditation routine, whatever that looks like for you. Meditation can look in all different sorts, right? We can do silent, we can do guided, we can do some chanting, we can do breath work, we can do just a prayer, a meditation, whatever that is to you. But when you start your day on your terms, before your household wakes up, before you have to get out of bed, just giving yourself 10 minutes minimum. 30 I would prefer, but I'll ask for 10 minutes before you have to do anything, before you make coffee, before you let the dog go pee, before go in with kids or whatever your household looks like. Just give yourself that intermittent fasting that your brain is craving. You reset yourself for a beautiful day, and it quiets the mind enough that you start to listen to that intuition. And here I thought I was going to get into real estate. I started reading a book, Ninja Selling, and I bring that up because Larry Kindle, who wrote that book, started talking about gratitude, affirmations, creating your own reality. And all of a sudden, everything like, oh yeah, I've kind of like heard books like this before. I was a Reiki master in 1990 when I was 20 years old. I used to do guided meditations, and it just came back in a floodgate. And there has to be a certain dream, and then take your hands off the wheel. Don't try to figure out how it's going to happen. Just kind of let it unfold. And so by doing this morning meditation, by listening to those whispers, by following those breadcrumbs, really letting my heart guide me, I just said, my life started to change. I started to think of myself differently, more lovingly. I started to treat people around me a little better. I don't know exactly why. Most people, these stories I hear, there's been some big trauma. There's been some medical diagnosis. There's been a car accident. There's been something that just gave them to the point where they needed hope. I didn't have any of those stories. I looked at my life. I thought everything looked great, but something was wrong. Something was missing. I didn't feel like I was put on this earth to sell houses. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I knew there was something more. And I kind of looked at it with curiosity and adventure and just started the ball rolling. And it is gutsy, Kink. There are nights when I'm like, what am I
Am I
doing?
dead? I say that a lot
Yeah.
myself. But because you do have to let go of how it's going to show up, and there's a big difference. That's a good thing to differentiate. There's the word manifestation, which is how something shows up, and that's where a lot of people get messed up because they have the idea that in order to be abundant, that the only way it can come is in the way of a paycheck. So they're focused on the how it shows up. But what you're talking about is actualization. Is that something shows up, and you let the how, you leave that up to the universe, and all you know is, I know this is going to happen. And the only question you have to ask every day is, what is my step today? And
Absolutely.
there's this Indian guru that I forget his name, but he always talks about, if you want flowers, you don't sit there and meditate, go flowers, 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 flowers. No, you say, okay, I want flowers. What do I do today? I'm going to focus on the dirt. I'm going to focus on the fertilizer, the water, the weeding, and all that. You focus on the process now, and the flowers come. But you
Right.
focus on the destination, then you're fragmenting and you're not present. And that's the number one reason people aren't successful at creating the way that they would like, is they're fragmenting in the past, why I can't do it, or in the future I don't know how to do it, or what is something in between.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a fine line between making it happen and allowing it to happen. And I think it's in that surrender that we really get creative and we really are able to breathe. And I do want to get back to breath for a moment. I hope Tony's still
Oh,
on. Um, and just learn. And so I started doing this. I wanted to create a retreat space for other women at the time. Everything I do now is men and women. But a year ago, I did a women's retreat. I reached out organically to people. My friends and family, really, they didn't come, but they told people, and those people came. So I really had 33 women come in St. Petersburg, Florida last October to this wonderful 3-day experience, and everyone loved it. I was not sure if I was going to continue it. And as the months went on and I kept listening and I kept meditating, just more and more things unfolded. And I did it again. I realized that the 2.5 days is too short for what was happening. There wasn't enough time to really integrate and go a little deeper. But people still wanted to have something in their own backyard that they could just give half a weekend to and learn new things. So I do have I have lots of things, but let's focus on the 1.5 day
hmm.
retreats, Friday afternoons, all day, or Friday evenings, all day Saturday, and twofold to bring everyday people experiences that they may or may not like, or spiritual people that just want to experience this stuff all together in one amazing container on a weekend, and to promote beautiful energy healers and practitioners in the area.
Right. And one thing, the venue she picked, I just want to bring it up again. Well, it's the Culinary Vegetable Institute. Here's the picture of the place. But at least they're sharing a little bit of their story, where they're able to put all the produce, they grow it so that it is consistent, and they're working actually to potentially get it so like insurance can even pay for diet and food, because they can consistently show that every carrot's the same, where right now if you go to the store, the nutritional value is completely different between things. So it's not just what you're creating, it's where you're creating it, finding these places that are really just
Yeah.
vibing with this high energy of health and vitality.
It's a fantastic place. I just absolutely was so happy to hear about it. They have Dr. Amy, who's a director of pharmacy with the F pharmacy, um, proving that food is medicine. They are working with scientists, doctors, and insurance companies, proving that their produce has the highest level of, like, let's say, the carrot is always the same carrot with the highest potential of vitamin C, because that's how healthcare has gotten away with not paying for certain foods. You can go on their website, and whatever your diagnosis is, if you have high blood pressure, you can get the high blood pressure produce basket with all the things that's best for high produce. I mean, for whether it's high cholesterol, high blood pressure, heart disease, whatever you have, they actually have different bushels of produce specific for that condition.
And this kind of segues. We did have one question, not related directly to the retreat, but to your experience as you kind of awoke to your passion of the soul, if you will.
Mhm.
Mark was asking, has the change in how you are operating and following your intuition and everything, has that inspired you to change how you're eating? And I kind of already know that a little bit from having known you a little bit, but you want to speak on to, oops.
Oh, Mark,
around.
you're completely calling me out. I cannot even believe this because my intuition has been telling me that I am stumping my spiritual growth with some of the food and beverage choices I do like to partake in at 52 years old. The things I've been eating, like ice cream and wine, and maybe a little bit of cheese. But I will say there was a significant shift a couple weeks ago with the class I took by the author of the Energy Codes, Dr. Sue Mortar. And she said that if you are doing the work every single morning and you're still input sugar, alcohol, caffeine into your system, you are stumping your growth. And I really heard her loud and clear. And somehow the next day, I didn't have the cravings for those things. I think I've had one coffee since then. It's going on almost 3 weeks. So it's so funny how I didn't want to stop caffeine or ice cream to lose weight or because I had, it affected me. But when somebody told me that it was affecting my spiritual growth, it just flipped. It just flipped. And for some reason now, even listening intuitively, I don't want meat. I've had more mushrooms in 3 weeks than I've ever had in my entire life. And it's truly what I want on the menu. Like today, I went out to a crepe place and I wanted the Normandy. I wanted the mushroom and asparagus crepe. The other ones didn't even appeal to me. So yes, absolutely. And I don't think it's any coincidence that I have a retreat coming up in less than 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks away, a little less, that's focusing on nutrition, that's focusing on grounding, getting back in your body, learning how to navigate I always say to people, the chaos of the world we're not going to be able to deal with it as well if we have chaos in ourselves. And I do feel like I noticed, like I just had a little bit of tea today and man, that caffeine really affected me. It's crazy to me how quickly our body adjusts to the new normal.
And Mark was just saying, great answer. Thank you very much. Mark always does. He's a jokester, but then he does occasionally ask a serious question.
Now, Mark, if you see me at Mitchell's, don't totally call me out. I mean, I am.
But they got sorbet. That's not as bad. And they have 2 vegan flavors now.
They do. They have that chocolate vegan one. And I actually like that lemon black raspberry is one of my favorites. But I look at it differently now. And it's not even that hard, right? Again, it's just, what are you doing it for? What are you eating the food for? And if it's going to stop me from getting out of the flow, I don't want that. Because the reason I wake up every morning and do the meditation or the yoga, the breath work, whatever I'm doing, is to have the magic keep happening. If the magic just happens one more day, right? And then one more day, and then one more day, before you know it, you have a totally different life.
Yeah. One process, one step at a time. So don't get too caught up on where you're going. Focus on the actual step you're on right now. And the next thing you know, you look back and you just transitioned over a mountain. And if you look at it one step at a time, it's not overbearing. It's not hard. It's just you're focusing on the process in the moment. And that is like really all you have to do. Yeah. And your morning routine, that's really what it's about. It's getting in touch with the intuition so you know what your body wants. Because if you don't have that morning routine first, you could be asking the question all day long, body, what do you want? But you might not be in the space to hear the answer. Like I've been vegan like 3+ years. I should say flexitarian because I occasionally eat other things. But the first year, man, I was eating all these vegan substitute things. Just because it's vegan doesn't mean it's good for you. Oreos are vegan, and I gained a ton of weight. I was very unhealthy. And then I finally asked that question, body, what would you like? And it's like, not that, not that, not that. And I went plant-based like overnight for up until now. Like I eat occasional eggs and that's it. But it's like that morning routine really sets the tone for you to hear that still small voice, that whisper each day.
Yeah, absolutely. And our bodies are craving vegetables, raw vegetables, steamed vegetables, real food, right? Not processed, going back to the tempehs and the vegan food, it's a good substitute occasionally to have, just like you would eat meat, right? You're not going to eat, even if you're a meat eater, I'm hoping that you're not eating a steak at every single meal 3 times a day. So just to keep that, within moderation. But I think the main thing is just listen to your body. And I think it was Hank. I know that Dr. Sue Morter said the same thing. She goes, yeah, I'm vegan until I'm not. And then one day I really want a steak, And then after a few weeks of eating meat and eggs, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I really don't think I want that anymore. When you're really doing that daily work, the 10 minutes, the 30 minutes, maybe even an hour, when you're doing
Whatever you
that
can fit in.
and you're giving yourself, you already know the answers, right? Let's just quiet enough down to listen.
So, and now Mark was asking another serious question. Do either of us have a night routine as well? Because it's one thing to start your day. Do you have some way
Jesus,
that you
this
kind of settle?
guy, has he bugged my house?
I don't, maybe he's a man of many talents.
You are very intuitive there, Mark, because I would have to say the two things that I've known I need to add into my routine is cleaning up my diet a little, really sticking to what I prefer and recommend is 75% fruits and vegetables in your daily diet. But all of a sudden, a night routine has really come to play for me. Literally, I've had 3 people tell me, do you do a night routine? So clearly that's something I need to look into. Honestly, I wake up really early. I don't set an alarm and I wake up really early. And usually by the end of the day, which to me is like 7, 8 o'clock, I'm just wiped out and I go to bed. But I have just the last 2 nights started a night routine involving a little bit of yoga, a little bit of center channel breath work, and a little bit of just reviewing the day, seeing where I might have slipped up, kind of look at why I slipped up. Was I tired? Was I cranky? Was I not drinking enough water? Had I just eaten a cookie and gotten the sugar, jacked up, which may or may not have happened yesterday? And, kind of give myself that self-love as well. Like, it's okay. You got tomorrow.
And now Mark is joking about this, but you asked if he has your house bugged. He says he has a bug in your basement and that you need to dust. But I'm sure that he's just joking.
Mark, that is why, even though I grew up in Florida most of my life, and I am in Cleveland, I have never, ever in my life owned a house with a basement.
Oh, so now we know Mark is just lucky.
Just for people like you. Just for people like you. Yeah.
Yeah. And just to recap for the events coming. Oh, actually, you mentioned the night routine. One thing that we do in the 12-step work is you do a daily inventory. And basically, you just ask the question, when have I been unloving to myself or to another today? That's the question you ask. And you look at the day and what came up. And, okay, that's what happened. Is there anything I need to do to make that right with that person? What could I change going forward to avoid from doing that again? And it's like really keeping yourself accountable and rigorously honest with the you that you'd like to be. Did everything I do today match who I'd like to be? No, what could I do different? Or how can I fix what I screwed up or put not fix? Because I think everything's perfect the way it happens, but how could you take what you created today and make something new with it? Like an artist that made a thing, maybe you can make that flower into a tree or something like that. If you take my meaning.
Yeah, I think the main thing is, meditation. One of the definitions literally of meditation is to become familiar with yourself. And I think if I do what Mark is asking me to do, that nighttime routine, and I review my day, I'm going to become familiar with myself even a little bit more. So that the next day, maybe when it's that 2, 3 o'clock, and I'm like, oh yeah, yesterday, that's when I really fell from grace, man. I really kind of lost it there for a little bit. Just to be a little bit more, right? Let me take a couple breaths. Let me get really present right now. Let me get back in my body. The day is kind of spun a little bit. Let me just take a few minutes, whether I go walk in some grass, reconnect to the earth, just center myself, and then continue on the rest of my day. But if I don't take that nighttime little few minutes and review, I'm not going to become familiar with what I need to change.
Right. And I like to mention, everybody, the tools we're talking about now, this is what the meetings are kind of like. There's a theme every time. There's like this time it was grounding. There's usually a presenter, but then people are sharing, and like we're really sharing our knowledge, because there's this concept of metaphysics or esoteric philosophy that we're all just walking each other home. And it's not a hierarchical thing that someone's better than another person. Some of us just have walked down that particular path a little further, have a few tricks to show. You walk down a different path, you have some tricks to show, and we're just sharing our resources. And it's kind of like the Peruvian prophecy of the rainbow tribe of humanity coming together again, sharing our gifts in collaboration, not competition. And if we can all hold that, like, we'll really change the world quickly.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And it was interesting to me how, usually, it's only been a couple months. And I would say probably half people are kind of in this work and half are just professional everyday people. And I wasn't really expecting that. And I love when like you show up, 7, we have some other people that are in this work show up, and they not only are they adding value to the group, but I do feel like you're getting nourished as well.
Oh, absolutely. We're all getting something. Like the greatest teacher is also the greatest student because you recognize that, you're not really you're just sharing something, and everybody there that's there to learn something from you, they have something for you to learn from them. And it's what we call Aini, which means divine reciprocity. We're in exchange with one another always. And if you're only trying to take or only trying to give, it creates an imbalance. So it's always like, how could I be in this energetic dance with everyone around me?
Yeah.
And like have this energetic play where you're really existing in creationship instead of relationship.
Yeah.
Very cool. So I hope everybody please follow Elise at Elise Free Presents on Instagram. And I think another great place, I'm a big fan of Meetup. I have a couple meetups myself. You can go to meetup.com/Bodhi, which is BODHI-life-Cleveland. And everything's posted on the Meetup. And she's going to be launching a new website soon, and that's going to have everything on it. But in the meantime, especially if you're watching on a replay, this event might have come and gone. But if you text grounding, or maybe text info, that might be a general one too, to
Whatever you want.
Elise. It's 440-522-2862. You can get the current, maybe send info and your city, because she's in a couple different cities already, so it might help her to get you to the right place. But there's a lot of exciting stuff. I don't want to we can do another live stream and talk about some of the things that are going to unfold as the technology piece really starts to click for you, because I'm excited about a lot of that.
Yes.
Because I'm a kind of a tech guy. I try not to be, but it happens in this line of work. You have to do things that,
Yeah, and if any of you are feeling the nudge to start a morning meditation routine, I do a 12 days of meditation. It's half learning about the science behind meditation, and then we do a 20-minute meditation for 12 days in a row, starting the first Monday of every month.
Is that going to go on Meetup as well, or do they need to go to your Instagram for that?
Right now, it's just either text me and I'll send you the landing page where you can find it. Again, everything I do is organic. You're not going to find
that's amazing. 33 people at a retreat, and all you did is tell people, and you didn't do the technology. So for everybody out there that says, "Oh, I need a website," she didn't have a website. I need this. I need that. No, you don't. All you need to do is don't wait, create. Even if you don't know how it's going to happen, just trust that it will and start going. And that's what Elise said.
And that was honestly me following my intuition. I was just felt like I like to be in front of people. I'm passionate about what I'm doing. I'm passionate about the people I'm in front of. And I would rather go out all day and meet people, meet new people, anyone. Today I had, people even sometimes just say, "Hey, when are you available for coffee for an hour?" I love that. And every time I go there, I'm thinking, what's going to happen? Like, who's this person? What's their story? Who do they know? Where is this breadcrumb going to lead? And it's working. It is a lot of, I won't say a lot of work. It's a lot of talking. It's a lot of.
My teacher, Zane, he calls it dream weaving. It's like when you're doing things like that and you're talking and you're creating this space of allowing something to come into actualization, you're dream weaving with people and you're sowing these little seeds, and it might not, sprout tomorrow, but you're seeding these things that is going to have this huge harvest. And it's these huge harvests that are really going to start shifting things. And I do want to give a shout out. I know Anthony joined us earlier and he's just saying thank you. Anthony has the Positive Pineapple that's also local to Cleveland. I don't know if he does it every morning now, but oftentimes in the morning he does breathwork lives. So check him out. Follow him on Facebook or Positive Pineapple page. He's another one of my shamanic brothers, and amazing. So all good stuff.
And something back to, I said I was going to say something about the breath. I have been dodging breath work because I know, I know. And it has been coming, so Mark, that's the one thing he didn't say. Morning routine or an evening routine, my diet and breath work would be number 3 for Mark to bring it home for a home run. I experienced Tony and Mary last week. I'm holding back, man. I know I'm holding back. So I need to dive deeper in that. And I actually had a little spontaneous breath work session today when I was doing the vibe bed and the infrared light and all the cool biohacking shit I do. And somebody was leading me, and he's a pretty well versed, like Anthony is, in breath work. And I'm like, the whole time I hated every single second. So that's when I go, man, I got to dive deeper into this, right? Like what's going to happen when I let that open? So
And there's
that's
different
what
types
the
too.
circle groups help you do, is just push you a little bit further. Just have a community around you that we can all encourage you and just help navigate you just a little bit more. Just 1%, right? If we all change 1% every year, just pivot a little, that boat is going to end up at a whole nother location.
Yeah, like asteroids, a little trajectory, it goes a totally different place. And since you're mentioning breathwork this Saturday, that if you want to come out and see me, like I'm still in between offices. People who know I was supposed to have a new office like in March, and I'm still like, I do have walls now. It's very exciting. I have paint. Very exciting. Walls and ceiling are next. But in the meantime, this Saturday at Goddess Elite at 7 o'clock, me and Cricket are going to be doing a sound bath plus breath work. So if you'd like to come out and experience that, I'm going to post a link to the Facebook event for that. And I believe, Elise, hopefully you get to come to that too. And here we go. I got the link now. Say, I have to think on the fly and get all this stuff. I wasn't ready.
And for people like me, you have to say 7 p.m.
Oh, 7 p.m.?
Yes, because I was thinking 7 a.m.
Oh, yeah. Well, it is a PM. Like
Yes.
with
You just
kids
said
right
7.
now.
You just said 7. My brain went to a.m.
Well, then if I just say 7, then I'm also thinking a person, because 7 is 7.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
but
I got
here's the link for the breathwork event.
Great.
Sound and breathing. Okay, so I just put that in the comments as well. Just an opportunity. Is there any final words of wisdom? Of course, everybody, please check out the Instagram. You can find out everything on Instagram. I'm sure there's also a link to our website. Check out the meetup. But in terms of leaving everybody with like a final little word of wisdom, what would you want them to walk away with? And you're allowed to repeat yourself if you already said it. If something's really important, you can totally repeat
First
yourself.
of all, I just want to thank you. Thanks so much for being so open, and Anthony and Mary as well. Just, I'm newer to the community, and you guys didn't know who I was, and to be curious enough to give me a little time to get to know me, I am just super honored. I appreciate you so much, and I just, this means the world to me. And it just, I mean, I can't emphasize the morning routine. Give yourselves 10 minutes of time for you. When you start feeding yourself and nourishing yourself and giving you just that space, it's in the relaxation, it's in that expansion, that curiosity, that creativity flows. And for me, creativity isn't just arts and music, it's the creativity of your life. And
Absolutely.
just to take that breath, just start with 10 minutes. I promise you it'll change your life.
Yeah, and there's like a saying that we have, it's energy flows where attention goes. And if you wake up and you immediately start thinking about all the stressful things you have to do, that sets the tone for the day. So like this morning routine, you're being self first, which is not selfish, and setting the tone that you are the most important being in the room for that whole day. And if you're going from that place of integrity and authenticity, like the universe kind of just recapitulates around you to create whatever it is that you are desiring. And that's a real secret to master manifesting.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's a few people on this call that are feeling that nudge to look in further to that immersion retreat. I'd be more than happy to give you time on the phone and tell you more details on that. It's an experience that you will not be the same after.
Yeah, and I will do it right after we end here, but I will take this number that I've said a couple of times. I will make sure that's in the comments. So if people do want to reach out, call, text, and set up a time or whatever the case is, that's the best thing. And then she can answer your one-on-one questions or concerns or anything else. I have heard people, I've talked to Elise a number of times now, and I've heard like the results and things, but we can't get into that on such a short program. Yeah. But thank you so much for coming on. This has been so much fun, and we should definitely plan to do this again in the near future.
All right. Thanks, Hank. Have a great night.
Take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.